She'd hidden her pregnancy for 9 months. His incredible reaction revealed an unexpected love story. In the quaint little diner at the heart of town, Sarah plastered on a smile, though her heart felt heavy with secrets. 9 months pregnant, she had hidden her condition from everyone around her, fearing the sharp stares and careless whispers that often came with being a single mother in this tight-knit community. Each day, as she poured coffee and served generous plates of homemade meatloaf, she felt the tightening grip of anxiety in her chest. The timing of her impending delivery felt like a ticking bomb, and she was desperate to defuse it before anyone caught on. As Sarah maneuvered through the tables, greeting regulars by name and exchanging warm smiles with her coworkers, her thoughts drifted to Mark. He was a war veteran who'd just returned home and had taken a special interest in her. They shared banter that danced on the edge of something deeper. He'd slip her extra tips, and his eyes sparkled with kind warmth. But how could she ever reveal her secret? What if he thought less of her? The diner, a beacon of the town, now faced unexpected turmoil. A health inspector threatened to shut it down due to minor violations. The news sent tremors through the community, and as Sarah's customers learned of the potential closure, their faces filled with concern. "Let us rally together. We can't let this place go," shouted Mrs. Thompson, the town's unofficial matriarch. Volunteers lined up to help with fundraisers and workdays, and Sarah felt the love pouring in. For the first time, a sliver of hope pierced the burden she carried. As Mark jumped in with boundless energy, fixing stalls and cleaning up, Sarah couldn't help but admire his dedication. Watching him work, his sweat-soaked shirt clinging to his back, she felt a warmth blossom in her chest. The walls surrounding her heart seemed to tremble under the weight of his kindness. She was drawn to him, yet dread still gnawed at her insides. "Sarah, can I speak with you for a moment?" Mark said, wiping his forehead as the sun streamed in through the diner's window. The lively atmosphere faded away, and the scent of freshly baked pie filled the air. In that moment, she felt an urge to share her truth, to let him into her world. The community had shown her that she wasn't alone, that love was possible, but fear held her back. Just as she took a deep breath, determined to open her mouth, Mark confessed his feelings for her. "I've grown fond of you, Sarah. I want to be there for you, no matter what happens." His words hung in the air, a tender weight that made her heart race. But just as she prepared to reveal her secret, a loud crash jolted them both. The health inspector had returned, his face a storm cloud of authority. Frozen between the primal urge to confess and the chaos now barreling into her reality, Sarah's heart pounded. Would she find the strength to share her truth, or would this news crush the fragile hope blossoming in her chest? The community had shown her their love, but the uncertainty loomed as thick as the aroma of pie in the air. The door swung open with a jangle, and all heads turned toward the health inspector. He marched in, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning the diner like a hawk. The cheerful chatter faded, replaced by a blanket of tension. Sarah felt a knot tighten in her stomach. The moment she had been waiting for, a moment to share her truth, now felt further away than ever. Crowded around tables, locals whispered among themselves, concern etched across their faces. Mrs. Thompson had been the voice of hope just moments ago, but now she stood silent, her hands clutched tightly together. Mark glanced down at Sarah, his expression fierce yet soft. "We'll figure this out," he mouthed, his eyes steady. She wished she could believe that, but the fear in her heart overshadowed everything. The inspector approached the counter with a gruff frown. "I need to see your food handling procedures," he declared, voice booming. Sarah's palms grew clammy as she felt his scrutiny, her already complex emotions spiraling further out of control. "Sure, let me just..." She fumbled with the menus, desperate to pull herself together. Mark stepped in, taking charge like a natural leader. "I've been helping out here. I'll show you everything." As he ushered the inspector away, Sarah felt both a wave of relief and an overwhelming urge to scream out her truth. Why was everything happening at once? In their absence, the weight of the room shifted. "Sarah, you okay?" one of the waitresses asked, concern pooling in her eyes. "I'm fine," Sarah replied, but the words felt hollow. Her heart pounded in rhythm with the clock on the wall, each tick a reminder of the time slipping away. Moments stretched on as Mark and the inspector spoke in hushed tones, the tension stretching thin. Sarah wiped her damp palms on her apron, her thoughts racing. If the diner didn't pass inspection, if it closed down, what would she do? And what if Mark found out about her pregnancy first? Just then, the door reopened, and Mark stepped back into the diner's warm light, a concerned frown etched on his face. It's not looking good. If we don't fix these issues today, we'll have to shut down for sure. A chill ran down Sarah's spine, mingling with the anxiety already simmering within her. Her chance to reveal her pregnancy was quickly fading along with the diner. The community depended on this place, and so did she. Is there anything we can do? Sarah asked, voice tight. Desperation seeped through her words, and Mark's eyes flickered with resolve. We'll rally the town again. I know we can pull together. Suddenly, the room felt like it was holding its breath, anticipation building. Sarah saw the warmth in Mark's eyes, a promise of support. But could she do it? Could she share the truth and face the potential fallout at the same time? As the air crackled with possibilities, something within her shifted. Maybe this was the moment to step into the light, to reveal her truth. Just as she opened her mouth, the diner door swung again. A familiar face stepped inside, the last person she expected, but the one person whose presence could so irrevocably alter everything, her mother. Sarah, her mother's voice cut through the cluttered air, filled with concern and confusion. The moment of truth felt even more daunting now, with the past creeping back into her reality. How would she unravel the threads of her secret now, when everything was on the line? Sarah's heart raced as she took in her mother's worried expression. The diner seemed to shrink around them, sounds fading into a dull roar while the world narrowed to just her and the woman who had helped shape her. This was at the moment of truth was no longer just about the diner. The layers of her life, of her choices, were suddenly exposed. Mom, what are you doing here? Her voice trembled, revealing more than she intended. Everyone felt the weight of the words. The tension in the room hit like a wave crashing over her. I came to check on you, her mother said, stepping closer. I heard about the inspection. And I had to see you. The sincerity in her mother's eyes pulled at something deep within Sarah, a sense of longing and fear intertwined. As much as she wanted to guard her truth, Sarah felt that knot in her chest tighten. Would her mother even understand? The words danced on the tip of her tongue, ready to spill out before the inspector returned. Would revealing her pregnancy now, amidst this chaos, bring relief or catastrophe? Mark caught her eye from across the room, and the warmth he radiated anchored Sarah for a fleeting moment. His encouragement surged through her. But the fear of her mother's judgment loomed over her, darkening her resolve. Sarah, are you all right? Her mother asked, worry etched in every wrinkle of her brow. The community was watching, their eyes flickering back and forth between mother and daughter. Both held heavy burdens. Yeah, there's a lot going on, Sarah replied, her voice losing its steadiness. The inspector's looming threat weighed heavily on her shoulders, but the personal stakes felt even higher. Do you want to talk about it? Her mother prompted gently, taking a step closer, anxious to bridge the gap that had grown too wide over the years. Suddenly, the diner's door swung open again, this time a gust of wind following the health inspector in, his eyes narrowing as he surveyed the growing assembly of anxious townsfolk. Let us wrap this up, shall we? He barked with authority. Sarah's heart sank further into her stomach. If we can explain. Sarah's voice faltered. First the inspection, then we can talk, Mark interjected, stepping in with a fierce protective stance. Everyone here believes in this diner. We can make this work. As the inspector moved toward the health station, Sarah realized the moment to share her truth was slipping away. The urgency felt unbearable. She took a deep breath, the weight of the truth pressed heavily on her chest, needing to escape. Mom, Sarah. Mrs. Thompson's voice cut through, panic threading through her tone. The inspector, all eyes fell back on the inspector, who had paused, clipboard in hand, clearly unimpressed. I don't have all day. The room was as quiet as a storm about to break. Sarah's heart pounded, each beat reminding her of the weight of her mother's expectations, the future she could be losing. But just then, as Sarah opened her mouth again to spill everything, Mark took her hand firmly, grounding her. "Whatever happens in there, I'm with you." And then, she saw a flicker of something in Mark's eyes, and understanding, perhaps even an invitation to share her secret. In this moment, she felt a shift, a possibility. What if she could reveal it all, even if in the midst of chaos? "Mom, I need you to listen. There's something I've been trying to tell you," Sarah began, taking a small step forward, but the sound of the inspector clearing his throat brought her back. "Enough chit-chat," he warned, glancing between them. "Let us see your health and safety procedures now." The world faded again, leaving only the weight of her truth hanging in the air, an unresolved puzzle waiting to explode. Could she speak now, in front of everyone, or would fear win this round? With the clock ticking, the stakes higher than ever, Sarah swallowed hard. Just then, a small voice from the back piped up. "What's really going on here, Sarah?" Everyone turned to see a curious child staring up at her, innocent and unknowing. In that moment, she realized that her truth was not just hers. It mattered to everyone who cared, and it was time to stop hiding. Could she muster the courage when everything was on the line? Sarah's breath caught as she looked around the diner. The faces of friends and neighbors, usually warm and familiar, now seemed to loom in judgment. The innocent question from the child echoed in her mind, amplifying her fear. Did she really want to share this truth now, when the stakes had never felt higher? She felt Mark's grip tighten around her hand, his reassuring presence wrapping her in a mantle of protection. It ignited something in her, a flicker of determination. He believed in her. Did she really want to keep hiding? Could she cast away the fear, the shame, the worry of disappointing her mother and community? She stammered, the words trembling on the precipice of her lips. The inspector shifted impatiently, tapping his pen on the clipboard. Sarah's heart raced as she felt everyone's eyes on her, their anticipation a palpable force. "Sarah," her mother urged, stepping forward as if trying to pull her out of the shadows. "You can talk to me." The moment hung heavy in the air. Here was her chance. This was more than just the diner, it was her chance to lay bare her heart and the truth she had been holding inside. "I am pregnant," she finally blurted, each word tumbling out in a rush. "I didn't know how to say it. I didn't want to ruin everything." The silence that followed felt like the world holding its breath, gasps echoed around the diner. Sarah braced herself as whispers started to ripple through the crowd. Her mother's expression shifted from confusion to astonishment, and then to something softer, more compassionate. "Oh, honey," her mother murmured, her hand flying to her mouth. Tears shimmered in her eyes as she stepped forward. "Why didn't you tell me?" "I thought you'd be disappointed," Sarah admitted, her voice breaking. "I didn't know how to balance it all, the diner, my life, this baby. I was scared." Mark squeezed Sarah's hand, grounding her as the emotions surged. "You're not alone, Sarah. You have people who care about you," he said, glancing around at the faces of support. "Your mom loves you, and so do we." The inspector's presence faded as the focus shifted. People shuffled closer, compassion etched on their features, ready to embrace the truth that had just come to light. "Disappointed? No. I'm proud of you," her mother cried, tears flowing freely now. "You've been trying to carry this all by yourself. It's okay to lean on me." In that moment, the walls that had separated them began to crumble. Sarah felt the warmth of the collective understanding, the power of empathy. Her fears slipped a little, maybe she wasn't alone after all. "Sarah, we'll figure this out together," Mark added, his tone steady and earnest. "This diner means something to all of us. We won't let it go down without a fight." Suddenly, the inspector cleared his throat, looking bemused yet captivated by the unexpected turn of events. "While I appreciate the emotional moment," he started, "I still need to conclude the inspection." But now, it felt different. Sarah was standing taller, her heart beating stronger than before. The truth had set itself free. As the inspector flicked through his notes, Sarah looked at Mark, and they shared a fleeting moment of understanding, a spark of possibility igniting as they faced what came next together. Yet, a whisper of doubt lingered, a simple question that she hadn't confronted yet. What would happen once the inspection was over? Would the community truly rally behind her, or would whispers of scandal resurface? Can we make this work, even with everything that's just come to light? She wondered, anxiety creeping back in. But as she faced Mark, she realized that perhaps the answer lay not in the past or the whispers of the town, but in the courage to believe in a future worth fighting for, one that might just turn out to be beautiful despite the chaos. What awaited them on the other side of this revelation? Would love conquer all, or would the world outside the diner force them into corners they weren't ready to face? The inspector continued to survey the room, his eyes moving from the gathered patrons to the paper in his hands. Sarah could feel the tension coiling in her stomach like a tightly wound spring. Had she just plunged into a cauldron of uncertainty? Mark's presence was a lifeline. He leaned toward her, his whisper barely piercing the murmur of the crowd. No matter what happens next, I'm here. We're together in this. Sarah nodded, uncertainty casting shadows on her heart, but his words gave her a sliver of hope. With every breath she took, she felt a little more grounded in her decision. The truth demanded to be embraced, no matter the outcome. I just hope it's enough, she replied, her voice low as her gaze darted to the inspector, who seemed to have regained his composure. Let us focus on the task at hand, he said, but the warmth in the diner overshadowed the formality of his presence. I need to ask some questions and then we'll assess the diner as it stands. Sarah watched as the diners leaned in closer, their concern palpable. Old Mr. Thompson, with his weathered face and wise eyes, shuffled forward. Let the girl speak, Inspector. She's given us enough to think about. You might just find this place is worth keeping around. The inspector hesitated, glancing at Sarah as if seeing her for the first time. Perhaps the weight of the truth had shifted the air in the room. For a moment, all he saw was a young woman grappling with the enormity of her situation, standing vulnerable before the people who mattered most. Thank you, sir, Mark said, his tone respectful yet firm. Sarah deserves a chance to show how much this diner means, not just to her but to us all. With those words, Sarah's doubts swirled, battling with her growing sense of purpose. She took a deep breath and turned to face everyone, her chest swelling with newfound strength. I know this isn't what you expected to hear today, she said, her voice steadier now. But I want you all to know how much the diner means to me. It's more than just a business. It's our home, our memories, and now, it's a part of my baby's story. A soft murmur of agreement rose around the diner, faces reflecting a range of emotions, from surprise to deep empathy. I wish my dad were here to see this, she said, an unexpected tear escaping down her cheek. She felt the collective heartbeat of the community, echoing her sentiment. But I know he'd want me to take care of this place, just like he took care of me. Then we'll help you, her mother said, stepping forward, warmth radiating from her gaze. We're family, and families help one another. A scattered applause broke out, and Mark raised his arm, rallying their friends and neighbors. Let us show Sarah just how much this diner means to us. We're not going to let a piece of paper decide our fate. The inspector's expression softened as the warmth of collective resolve blanketed the room. But even as hope blossomed, Sarah's heart ached with uncertainty. Could they really fight against the odds? Would the inspector be swayed by the passion and love flowing around him? As she turned to look at Mark, she was met with a bright smile full of encouragement. Whatever happens, you won't face it alone, he said, his sincerity cutting through the noise. You will know love in this journey, just hold on. And in that instant, everything changed again. There was a flame igniting within Sarah, one that burned brighter than the fears still lurking at the back of her mind. She vowed to embrace whatever lay ahead, but just as clarity began to settle, the inspector cleared his throat once more, and Sarah felt a shiver crawl up her spine. I need to address one more thing about the future of this diner. What was about to unfold? Would the inspector's next words bring relief or a new storm? The inspector's gaze swept across the diner, lingering on each familiar face. The air was thick with anticipation, almost as if time had paused. You've made some compelling points, he said slowly. But there are policies, regulations we must consider. Regulations? Sarah interrupted, her heart racing. This place is more than just a property. It's our home. Can't you feel that? A ripple of agreement surged through the crowd, a chorus of affirmation echoing her resolve. Old Mr. Thompson was nodding vigorously. You can't put a price on memories or love, the kind that binds us all together right here. The inspector shifted uncomfortably. I understand your sentiments, truly. But a decision of this magnitude involves more than just feelings. Then let us show you. Mark urged. Let us prove this diner isn't just a building but a community's heart. Gathering energy from her friends and family, Sarah placed her hand on the counter, feeling the familiar coolness of the worn laminate beneath her palm. I want you to see it for what it is. The laughter, the tears, the countless birthdays, anniversaries, and the day-to-day connections we've built something real here. The inspector hesitated as his gaze wandered over the passionate faces, each person revealing a piece of themselves through their expressions: hope, fear, resilience. The weight of their shared memories was palpable, an emotional tapestry that seemed to engulf the room. Okay, let us hypothetically say, the inspector began, adjusting his glasses, that I were to reconsider. What exactly would you suggest? I suggest a community event. Sarah exclaimed, excitement spilling from her lips. A diner night, showcasing what we have to offer: the food, the memories, our stories. Let the community rally around it. You'll see how much this place means. Yes. Someone from the back shouted, raising a hand in agreement. Organize a fundraiser, a celebration, Mark added, his eyes gleaming. This community can show you that we're worth investing in. It's not just about profits, it's about people. The inspector's brow furrowed, but there was a flicker of intrigue in his eyes. That could work, but it needs to be well organized. We can't just throw a party and expect everything to change overnight. Sarah nodded emphatically. We'll work hard. I'll get all the numbers together, the finances. We'll make it happen. An old woman in the corner piped up, I can bake pies. I've been doing it for 40 years. They won tea go home disappointed. As chatter erupted throughout the diner, igniting excitement, Sarah felt an overwhelming wave of emotions. This place had stitched their lives together, creating ties deeper than any piece of paper could sever. But as they planned, an uneasy thought suddenly crept back into her mind. What if the inspector was just appeasing them? Would he really care enough to attend? Good, the inspector said, breaking her train of thought. I'll need a presentation: what you're all about, the history, the projections. If you can truly embody what you're promising, then perhaps we can have a serious conversation moving forward. There was a collective gasp. Relief fluttered in Sarah's chest, but as quickly as it came, a new pressure settled. We will, she vowed, looking at the faces surrounding her. I promise we will show you who we are. As the chatter grew earnestly into plans, Sarah couldn't shake the sense of impending responsibility. With every laugh, every hopeful suggestion, her anxiety breathed alongside the excitement. She felt that weight shifting, echoing in her thoughts. Suddenly, she glanced toward the inspector, who was scribbling notes. In that moment, a sense of urgency surged inside her. Before we move forward, can I ask you something? She ventured, her voice rising above the noise. What does family mean to you? How do you envision a place like this thriving? The inspector paused, and a hardened expression crossed his face, surprising her. The diner's pulse quieted, waiting for an answer that could dictate their future. What could he say? And would it mark a new chapter for the diner or a closing line for their dreams? The room was heavy with anticipation as the inspector's focus shifted. Sarah felt her heart thud in her chest, echoing the unvoiced wishes of everyone around her. The familiar chatter faded to a hush, and the energy shifted. It was as if the diner itself was holding its breath, waiting for the answer that could change everything. That he cleared his throat, the faint scratching of his pen pausing momentarily. Family, he finally said. To me, it's the people who stand by you when the world feels heavy. It's the bonds that hold you together through thick and thin, regardless of circumstances. His eyes flickered with something buried deep within, something that made Sarah wonder about the stories behind that stoic facade. "You're worried about losing something," she said, the words escaping her before she could think them through. "A piece of yourself?" The inspector's brows furrowed, and she saw a brief flicker of something like vulnerability. It was enough to ignite her determination. "I know it sounds silly," he replied, leaning against the counter, his voice softening. "But this is a job for me. I have a duty. It's South, not my place to get attached." Sarah's voice grew stronger. "But it is your place to understand." She paused, remembering all the moments of joy that the diner had witnessed. "This place is built on connections that go beyond whatever policies you have to follow. It's family in every sense of the word." The inspector remained silent, staring at some distant memory only he could see. She imagined what it must feel like to sit alone, wrestling with choices that could separate him from a community of family he didn't know he could have. Just then, Jenny, a spirited teenager who worked part-time at the diner, piped up, "You should join us. Just once. Maybe you could see how much laughter and love is crammed into every Saturday night." The inspector shifted, weighing the thought in his mind. "I just can't." Mark interjected. "Can't you allow yourself the chance to feel? Every single person in this diner can offer you something. We're not just serving coffee and pancakes, we're serving warmth and connection. We're all here for each other." Around them, heads nodded, and murmurs of agreement filled the air. Sarah saw the flicker begin to grow in the inspector's eye, a tiny spark softened by vulnerability and curiosity. "Fine," he said, the word almost lost in the chorus around him. "If it really means that much to you, I'll attend your event." But his voice was firm again, "Only if you can illustrate the community aspect. Show me this connection you keep talking about." Relief washed over the diner like sunlight breaking through a storm. "We will," Sarah said, confidence blooming in her chest. "You won't regret it." As they began to discuss the finer points of the upcoming event, excitement bubbled through the crowd. Sarah's mind raced with a million thoughts, all the preparations they needed to make, the food to organize, and the stories to tell, but one question gnawed at her: would one night be enough? Could they really convince him to see them as more than faces in a diner? As a family that wouldn't let go? Just as she began drafting a mental checklist of duties, her phone buzzed. She pulled it out, her heart dropping. A notification flashed, what she had been dreading since last week. A corporate email discussing the timeline of the diner's potential closure if no substantial changes were made. "Is everything okay?" Mark asked, concerned. She blinked, forcing a smile that felt fragile. "Yeah, just a work reminder." Her voice was flat, detached. The weight returned with a fierce grip. The diner's future was still hanging by a thread, but she wouldn't let it show. Not now. Around her, plans began to sparkle with life, expressions brightening like lights switching on in a dark room. And as her friends laughed and shared ideas, there was a lingering question that echoed: what if the inspector didn't just walk away after the event? What if he truly understood? Maybe, just maybe, that single night would reveal more than just their love for the diner. But what would that mean for Sarah, for all of them? Would a deeper connection form, or would they end up back where they started, fighting for the heart of their home once more? The days melted into a blur as planning for the event took over the diner. Each meeting felt charged with a mix of hope and anxiety. Sarah walked the familiar path to the diner every morning, the faint smell of coffee and sweet pastries embracing her like an old friend. Her heart soared during these moments until the harsh reminder of the email flickered in her mind. "Sarah, can you grab more napkins?" shouted Jenny, pulling her out of her thoughts. She blinked, returning her focus to the bustling kitchen, where aprons and laughter danced among the clatter of dishes. "Right," she responded, but her legs felt heavier. Making her way to the storage room, she grabbed a stack of napkins and took a deep breath. She could do this. Even if the stakes felt impossibly high, she owed it to everyone: her friends, the customers, the inspector. They needed to see that the diner was more than just a place to eat. It was their sanctuary. As they set up the decorations, she noticed the bright streamers they hung in the diner. Each color twinkled with possibilities. Whatever happened, this night had to shine above their worries. "This is gonna be something," Mark said, stepping back to admire their work. "Yeah, something special," Sarah agreed, but her thoughts were racing. Would they truly reach the inspector? Would he see the magic they held? That Saturday arrived like a friendly whisper, the sun pouring through the diner windows. Sarah's heart raced. She wore a dress she'd kept tucked away, a bright burst of red meant for celebrations, and she hoped it would spark something within the inspector. The doors swung open, revealing a wave of familiar faces. Neighbors, regulars, and even newcomers filled the diner, laughter rising up to the ceiling. The inspector arrived just as the event kicked off, slipping in quietly at first, and Sarah's breath hitched. He looked out of place yet strangely curious. "Welcome." Sarah greeted him, beaming despite her fluttering heart. "Hope you're ready for some family-style fun." As the festivities began, Sarah took a moment to watch him from across the room. He stood back, arms crossed, analyzing everything. Slowly, though, as they served food and shared stories, some old, some new, she saw a spark of interest cross his face. "People really come together here, don't they?" Came a voice beside her, breaking her focus. She turned to find Jenny, her youthful excitement shining through. "They do. Each dish carries a piece of someone's heart. You know what? He's starting to warm up." "Really?" Sarah turned back, catching the inspector chuckling at a funny joke from Mark. "You think?" "For sure." Jenny grinned and bounced away to pilot the next game. Sarah couldn't help but smile. Encouraged, she took a deep breath and made her way towards the inspector. She could see the shield he wore cracking, just a little. It felt exhilarating and terrifying all at once. "Enjoying the event?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Surprisingly, yes." He glanced at her, a hint of a smile breaking through his formal demeanor. "I didn't expect to find so many stories shared over breakfast." "Good. Because this is just the beginning." She was hitting her stride, words tumbling out before she could stop them. "We believe a diner should be more than a transaction. It should feel like home. Like family." He studied her for a long moment, and Sarah could feel the weight of unspoken words between them. What lay behind his eyes? What was he still holding back? "Tell me more," he finally said, his voice almost tentative. It was mesmerizing how a simple invitation could shift everything. It felt like the pressing weight of uncertainty might lift, even if just a little. And in that moment, she saw ripples of connection forming, the possibility of something much bigger than either had anticipated. But then, laughter broke out from the corner of the room, a loud, spontaneous joy that pulled her back. "What will this mean for us if it works? What if he truly sees us?" And just as she pondered the very heart of that question, her phone buzzed again, jolting her back to the present. Anxiety twisted in her stomach when she saw the sender's name. Here it comes, the reality check she dreaded. Would it shatter everything they were building around the inspector? Would it remind them that their fight might be for nothing? A second message flashed on her screen, and her heart started racing. It was time for decisions, for courage, and a little bit of hope. Would they be able to face the oncoming storm together? The sudden buzz of Sarah's phone felt like a threat, a stark contrast to the joyful atmosphere swirling around her. She glanced down, her heart pounding in her chest as she remembered the email that had sent her spiraling earlier that week. Nausea bubbled in her stomach as she felt the need to stay present at the event, yet the weight of that message tugged at her. With a glance toward the inspector, still engaged in animated conversation with Mark, Sarah stepped away to find some quiet. She needed clarity. After taking a few deep breaths, she opened her messages. The first one confirmed what she had feared, a disappointing update about the diner's license, just weeks away from being up for renewal. If they didn't meet the inspector's expectations, everything could collapse. The second message was from her mother, checking in about how things were going, her usual optimism shining through even the phone's dim screen. Sarah hesitated, fingers trembling before she opened it. Her mom's words were sweet and hopeful, painting a picture of success that felt miles away from her reality. And yet somehow, she found herself smiling at the thought. Sarah. Where do you go? Jenny's voice broke her reverie as she approached, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Just, needed a breather, she replied, forcing a grin. How's everything going? Fantastic. Everyone loves the food, and I think the inspector is actually having a good time. Come on, let us get you back in there. Jenny's enthusiasm was infectious, pulling Sarah toward the main hall where laughter and warmth swirled like a tangible thing. As they stepped back into the gathering, Sarah noticed the inspector watching a group of children play with balloon animals. His expression was softer now, relaxed, an easy appreciation in his gaze. It filled her with a rush of hope. Maybe they were really making a connection, breaking through the bureaucratic wall he carried. See? He's warming up. Jenny whispered, bouncing on her toes. Yeah. I hope it lasts. Anxiety crept back in at the edges of Sarah's joy, clashing with the buoyant energy around her. Moments slid by as Sarah moved through the crowd, engaging with guests, their laughter washing over her like a warm tide. She told stories about the diner, how it served more than food, it dished out memories and comfort. How every table held a story, and every customer was family. Her heart felt lighter as she shared these truths, watching the inspector chuckle at the anecdote sparking between her and her friends. Then, she caught his eye. In that split second, the world around them faded, leaving just the two of them vibrating with possibility. For the first time, she could see him picturing the diner through her eyes. The vibrant colors, the aromas wafting from the kitchen, the way laughter wrapped around them like an embrace. Sarah, the inspector, stepped forward, breaking the distance. I'd like to discuss your vision for the diner. It's impressive how everyone feels so connected here. Sarah's heart raced. Was this a turning point? She took a breath, ready to dive deep into what the diner truly meant to her. I believe it's about more than just running an establishment, she affirmed, pouring her heart out, all the hopes and dreams she had for the place. It's about community. It's people coming together to share experiences, to feel loved. A loud cheer erupted from a game at the far end of the room, pulling her attention momentarily. She turned to look, lost momentarily in the chaos of happiness. But the weight of the inspector's gaze remained on her. When she finally turned back to him, her moment of clarity came crashing down as she saw something unexpected flash in his eyes. Admiration? Curiosity? What if we could create more spaces like this? He said, his voice lower, infused with a kind of excitement that sent shivers down her spine. Sarah could feel the energy shifting again, the emotions swirling between them, something beyond hope, something electric. But just as she opened her mouth to respond, another buzz from her phone disturbed the moment. She glanced at it, startled, then hardened with dread at the realization of another potential roadblock. Was this a message that could crush the beautiful connection they were building? Would the storm come crashing in before they could even witness the sun? What if everything we're building right now, all of this, is about to change? She thought, anxiety squeezing her heart. Could they face it together? The energy in the diner buzzed with hope and joy, but Sarah felt the tightening knot in her stomach again. She stared at her phone, the harsh blue light reminding her of the impending doom. The clock was ticking, they were still fighting against a deadline that hovered over each thought, each cheer, each shared smile. Sarah? Mark's voice cut through her haze, pulling her back into the moment. He approached with a concerned brow, still beaming from laughter with their guests. What's wrong? Taking a deep breath, she met his earnest gaze. I got another message about the diner's license renewal. If we can't show the inspector that he can trust us, her voice faltered under the weight of her fear. This event could be our last chance. Mark's expression hardened for a moment, then softened with understanding. Our last chance? No way. Look around you. Everyone here believes in the diner. They believe in you. His words ignited a spark, but doubt still gripped Sarah. She glanced at the inspector, now chatting with Jenny, enthusiasm amplifying every gesture. Could he really feel that connection? Could he see the love and support the community had for their home? Let us show him. All of us. Mark stepped closer, determination etched on his face. This night is about more than just your vision. It's all of our stories woven together, showing how intertwined we all are. Sarah's heart felt lighter. Maybe it was time to embrace the moment, to lay it all on the line. The diner represented so much more than just food. It held their laughter, tears, memories, even dreams. She needed to share that truth with everyone, one last time. As the event became a whirlwind of storytelling and dancing, Sarah gathered her courage, looking around at her friends who had become family. She took Mark's hand, drawing him closer. "We can do this together." "Absolutely," he said, gripping her hand reassuringly. With renewed energy, she stepped onto a chair, raising her voice above the laughter. "Everyone. Can I have your attention?" The cheerful chatter gradually faded, curious eyes turned to her. The inspector paused, his gaze fixed on her, intrigued. "Thank you all for being here tonight. I feel so blessed to have each of you in my life. This diner isn't just mine. It's ours. It's where we find comfort in each other, share our joys and sorrows. It's our home." Her voice rang out, fortified by the connection pulsing in the air. "But we can't lose it. We won't let it slip away." A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. Heads nodded in agreement, some shouting affirmations. "We believe in you, Sarah." Someone hollered from the back, the weight of anticipation hung like a thick tapestry, each thread woven with hope and fear. She locked eyes with the inspector, who looked contemplative. "And you," she continued, "you've seen into our stories tonight. But our fight isn't just about serving food. It's about friendships, love, support, all coming together at this table. It's about family." His expression shifted, the rigid lines softening ever so slightly as the emotions in the room enveloped him like a warm hug. "Let us show you, let us celebrate this diner's real meaning," Sarah urged. "We want the chance to prove that our love is bigger than rules and regulations. That family can thrive, even when the odds seem against us." The inspector's posture shifted, a flicker of realization passed through his eyes. Around the diner, faces glowed with pride and determination, every person striving for the same shared vision. Sarah felt the shift in the room, a collective heartbeat growing stronger with each passing second. "Let us have fun, let us share our spirit, and let us show you how we can make a difference," Mark added, standing beside her, his strength radiating. "Everyone knows how much this diner means. Let us dig deeper." And they did. Laughter ignited, stories flowed, and the spirit of the diner came spilling out, wrapping every person present in a tapestry of love and joy. They danced, they served, they embraced connection, all centered around that one table that brought them together, heart and soul. As the night roared on, laughter mingled with warm expressions. Sarah watched as the inspector engaged with patrons, sharing their stories. She could feel something change, the weight of tension slipping, almost melting into the joyous atmosphere. Then, as if time itself had paused, the inspector turned to Sarah, the corner of his mouth lifting in a tentative smile. "You've given me much to think about, Sarah. I can see how this diner is a part of your lives and how it means something beyond my expectations." Hope flickered, her heart raced. "So, you'll consider our event? Let us show you the heart behind the business?" He hesitated before nodding slowly, cautiously weighing the future. "Let me tell you this, I can't make promises, but tonight has highlighted something important." Breathless, Sarah held on to the moment, clinging to the possibility that they may have opened a door to their future, turning a fight for a diner into a celebration of family. "I appreciate your honesty," he finally replied, the sincerity evident in his voice. "I'll have my report ready soon, but your passion tonight, it's evident." In that moment, the sense of uncertainty lifted, if only a little. The community, their connection, their hearts, it all surged around her. "Thank you," Sarah whispered, her heart swelled with gratitude. "We'll hold on to this. We'll fight for our home." As the night came to a close, she felt Mark slip his hand around her waist, anchoring her as they faced whatever would come next. With the growing support in her heart and the wisdom of the moment garnered through love, Sarah knew she could face the world outside. They had shared their truth, fought for their place, and supported one another as a family. Whatever the inspector's decision might bring, Sarah felt ready to embrace the dawn. As the diner's lights dimmed, she whispered to Mark, "No matter what, we made our stand here tonight." With a hopeful smile, he replied, "And we'll keep standing strong, together." For Sarah, that meant everything. And as they walked into the future, ready to fight for the love that filled the diner and their hearts, she felt something big blooming: hope, togetherness, and the beautiful light of community. Now, this is the moment. You need to subscribe now. Hit that button immediately to keep following Sarah and Mark, and don't miss out on more exclusive stories that celebrate the strength of community, love, and transformation. Leave a like now to boost the algorithm so others can witness this journey too. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this touching ending. I want to hear how this story resonated with you, and don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and journey of love. Your support means everything to keep this channel thriving.